Good morning, namaste. Thank you so much for having me here. Delighted to be the first speaker at this inaugural event. My name is Jodie Sangster, and as mentioned, I'm the CEO of the Australian Direct Marketing Association, and I also chair the International Federation of DMAs around the world. I've been in direct marketing for around 17 years, started off as a lawyer in data protection and now moved into looking after the association, representing around 600 companies, large companies in Australia who use direct marketing in their day-to-day business. So what I'm here to talk to you about today is marketing and advertising from a global perspective. So I've been very blessed in my career to have worked all around the world in direct marketing, in Asia, in the US, in Europe, and beyond, and really seen what is happening in the world of direct marketing. So I'm trying to bring some of that to you today. So hopefully I'll be able to give you a little bit of context in terms of what we're going to talk about today, some of the sessions that you're going to hear, and really kind of give you the outline of what direct marketing has become these days, particularly in the Western world. So, the world of marketing. Marketing and advertising is really facing unprecedented change. The last 5 years has seen development that we have never seen before. We've got more channels than we ever believed possible through which we can now communicate with our customers. We've got technology which is driving or enabling us to really engage with our customers on a one-to-one basis and also real-time. Technology allows us to communicate, it allows us to track what is happening, so it allows us to track what our customers are responding to. It allows us to analyze data, so we really get the insights as to what is happening with our marketing efforts, and it also allows us to manage our data. And data is a key component here. I'm going to talk a lot about data. I truly believe that we are coming into a point where we're going into a data revolution. So data drives direct marketing, and really we're in an age now where we have got limitless data through which we can gain insights and through which we can do smarter marketing. So I'm going to talk an awful lot about the data revolution and what it means for us. I'm often asked in my position as chairperson of the International Federation of DMAs, who's doing the best work around the world? And it's a really difficult question for me to answer. And really there are some companies, I would say, that are stand out rather than countries. But if you wanted me to give a general answer, I would say that the US is leading the charge in terms of technology. They've got some amazing technology, and a lot of the technology is developed out of the US. I'd say UK Europe is doing some amazing work in terms of data, and the sophistication that they've developed there is quite incredible. Creatively, interesting to see. We've got a complete switch. So South America has really kind of risen to the fore recently, particularly Brazil, in terms of creativity, particularly in the digital space. And I would say, being from Australia, but Australia and New Zealand also really does do well in terms of creativity. And if you look at the case studies that recently came out of Cannes and that will come out of Echo, you'll see a number of great case studies coming from those countries. But what I'm going to talk to you today about is really the growth of direct marketing, the amount that's being spent on direct marketing around the world, the new developments, but also the challenges that that's bringing to marketers. If you want to read a really interesting study on marketing, direct marketing and advertising, IBM did a great CMO study from around the world, and they went out to over 200 CMOs worldwide and said to them, what are your key challenges here? What are the key issues that are really kind of keeping you awake at night as a CMO? And what was interesting to me, the outcome of that study, is that it's the same challenges in each country. So as much as we talk about the differences in terms of development and how far ahead we are in marketing, CMOs around the world are facing the same challenges, and I'll address some of those challenges with you today. And the last thing that I'd like to mention to you is some of the legal issues that you need to be aware of in terms of direct marketing moving forward. I don't think there's a day that goes by now where we don't open the newspaper and we see something in there about Google using data, or Facebook using data, or some other company using data, or a data breach. And it really means that we've got a responsibility now as marketers to make sure that we do the right thing with data. Because if we don't, we're going to find that somebody is going to step in, put restrictions around how we can use data, and that'll affect our businesses and affect our marketing efforts. So just quickly, and this is very quickly, as I know I've been told I'm on a very strict time frame, what's it worth? So what's the industry worth? So marketers worldwide, or organisations worldwide, spend around $500 billion a year on marketing, on direct marketing. The US obviously leads the charge there, and they spend about $163 billion a year on direct marketing. And if you, I gave you Australia just as a comparison to see the amount that we spend. We're a small population of 20 million. We're still spending $15 billion on direct marketing a year. So this is a huge industry. On average, we're seeing a 6% increase year on year in terms of the amount that's being spent, and a lot of this is driven by digital channels. So companies are investing heavily in digital. But that said, the traditional channels, so the traditional direct marketing channels such as mail and telephone, are still holding strong. And they're now being coupled with new channels. So we're seeing, for example, telephone marketing is being coupled with social media, and call centres are monitoring social media and then responding by telephone, for example. So we're seeing that the channels, traditional channels and the new channels, working in concert together. Direct marketing accounts for 53% of total advertising spend, so that's worldwide. That's a lot of money, and I think it's quite an eye-opener for us to see how much money is spent on direct marketing. That figure will increase hugely, and I'll come on to the reason why in a moment. And the USDMA projected this year that for every dollar spent in direct marketing, you're going to get a $12 return. So that is a huge return on investment. And obviously the main reason that direct marketing is so attractive is because you can exactly see and measure the return that you're getting on your marketing dollar. The interesting thing is, we put these figures up there, or I put these figures up there, and we talk about direct marketing. But what are we actually talking about today? And it's really interesting for me in my position, and even worldwide, I talk to people and they say, oh, direct marketing, that's direct mail, isn't it? Or direct marketing, oh, it's telemarketing, isn't it? Or even worse, direct marketing, oh, that's junk mail. And really we need to recalibrate. What are we talking about today? What is direct marketing today? For anyone that went to the USDMA conference in Boston, at the time the CEO of the USDMA put up the definition of direct marketing that was on Wikipedia, and at that time it said it's catalogues, it's mailers, it's things that get stuffed into your letterbox, it's all these various different things that were really around mail. And it had the word junk also in the title to Wikipedia. So he made a call out to the industry and said, we really need to change this. We need to change the definition of direct marketing. Let's make sure it's accurate. And that was achieved in a year. So now we have a new definition of direct marketing, and this is much more accurate. So direct marketing is a form of advertising where you communicate directly with the customer. It focuses on customer, data, and accountability. It usually includes a call to action, but I want to be careful about that one because previously it's about kind of selling and asking people to buy, and it's not that anymore. A call to action might be engage with me. A call to action may be, join a loyalty program where you're going to get rewards moving forward. It's not always a call to action to say, please buy something. So it's just engage with me. And then lastly, it's trackable and measurable. So really where we get to, if you distill it all down, what we're talking about today is targeted, data-driven, measurable marketing and advertising. And I am deliberately putting advertising in there. We talk about advertising as separate. And when AJ did the introduction, he said, well, I was in advertising, and that was, that's a related industry. No longer. Marketing and advertising are coming together. The two are data-driven. You should be able to measure all forms of advertising and all forms of marketing and know the return that you're getting on your investment. And that's the reason why I've included advertising here. So where we've gone from and to, look, you've seen a number of these infographics before, and by the way, this second one isn't 100% accurate because there isn't things like mobile on there and other channels. But the point that we're trying to make is direct marketing is no longer about a channel, it's about a discipline. It's about measurability and using data to make sure that you can send relevant messages to your customers. That's what it's about. So I don't care what channel you're using, whether it be mail, telephone, email, social media, mobile, etc., etc., etc. You can use all of those channels. It's the discipline that sits underneath it that's important. So just to give you a couple of very quick examples of what direct marketing has become today and how we're now pulling in new sections of the industry which probably have seen themselves as completely separate before. So publishing is a great example. So publishing and media always seen themselves completely outside of direct marketing. They would have mass media. So for example, someone will put an advert into a newspaper or a magazine because they know that the person reading that magazine or newspaper is within their demographic or within their target audience. So that's always been seen as above-the-line advertising. Now, where have we moved to? Well, newspapers are now online, and particularly in Australia, we've pushed everything online to the point that we're no longer having tabloid newspapers because nobody's buying them. So instead, everything is being pushed online, so now we now read newspapers online, on our tablets, on our mobile phones. Now, as soon as you get online, you can then see what somebody else is reading. So if someone's coming onto your site, you can see which site they've been on previously and which site they go to. So next time that they visit your newspaper site, you can start to serve them advertisements based upon what you know about them. Okay, so the advertisements that you see will be different for me than if somebody else goes onto that site, because through cookies, we are tracking what I'm looking at online. So now it's becoming personalised. But at the moment, it's still not about me as Jodie. It's just me as a person who's on the internet and looking at the site. But the next step is now we're looking at this on our mobile phone. And that data can now be put together. So we now know it is Jodie who's looking at that newspaper. You know my preferences. You know where I live, who I am, what I do. You've got my location, because my mobile phone has got my location. And those advertisements are now specifically targeted to me. So at the point that we're using data, we're talking one-to-one with a consumer, we are in the realms of direct marketing. So whereas previously you may have thought the display advertising on a website or a mobile phone isn't direct marketing, it actually is and will continue to be so. Another great example is TV. Again, I know it's highly used here, TV advertising, but we're moving to a stage where TV advertising is also going to become personalised. So now you can log into TV. We have catch-up TV, whereby if you've missed programs, you can go in, you can look at, you can download those programs and watch them. But at the point you go in, you log in. You say, okay, I'm Jodie, log in my details, and now the advertisements that are served to me when I'm watching that TV program are now targeted to me. So I'm not going to get sporting advertisements because they're of absolutely no interest to me at all, but I might get beauty products, for example. Huge generalisation, but that's the type of thing that can happen. So even in TV now, we're in a world where it can be personalised, you're talking one-to-one with the consumer, and you're within direct marketing. So coming back to the statistics that I put up for you, what I think is going to happen quite quickly is that where we've said something like 54% of spend is in direct marketing, that's going to hugely increase as we're seeing all forms of marketing and advertising now moving towards data-driven, okay? Data-driven, i.e. direct. The other question that's often asked, and there's been so many debates on this, about this idea of, above the line and below the line, and is the line blurring, what's happening out there? And I'm here to make quite a bold statement. The line isn't blurring. We have seen a monumental shift towards direct marketing, okay? Call it what you will. If you call it direct marketing, data-driven marketing and advertising. But we're not seeing the line blurring. We are seeing advertising agencies hiring statisticians, hiring analytics people, making sure that they can put measurability behind what they're doing, looking for new ways to actually specifically target consumers. So I wouldn't say that the line is blurring. I would say it's a shift towards direct. Okay, so what is contributing to this kind of revolution in marketing that we're seeing at the moment? So there's probably three key elements, I would say. First of all is channels. We've now got access to all of these various different channels, and if you use the channels in concert with each other, the response rate that you get increasingly goes up. Okay, multi-channel marketing is both probably the most effective form of marketing, but it's also quite scientific. So how do you choose which channels go together to make sure you get the best response? And also, how do you know which channels to communicate with your customers through? Bearing in mind that every customer is different. I might like to be communicated with via telephone, but then my next door neighbour might actually like email. So as much as it's giving us a huge opportunity there to communicate, we need to make sure that we understand those channels and how they're working for us, and I'll come on to that. The second area is technology, and I've put an infographic behind here. These slides, by the way, are be making them available, so don't feel the need to take any notes here. But if you look at the infographic behind this slide, that's an infographic of all the marketing technologies that are available to us. And it's a very crowded market out there. And technology allows us to do really kind of three main things. It allows us to communicate, it allows us to analyze, and it allows us to automate. So we can now communicate with a customer in real time because technology is allowing us to do so. But the challenge it's presenting us here, as you can see, with the amount of technology available, is how do we make that work for us and how do we keep on top of that? And then the last element is data. That's probably the most important element because you can have the best technology in the world and access to all the channels, but if you're not communicating with your customer in a way that resonates with them, you may as well not bother. And really it's data that allows us to be relevant and communicate on that level. Okay. I've rearranged this slightly. The previous slide shows how it's usually presented, the kind of three elements, and then the customer sitting at the middle. And the customer, obviously, is the all-important. The whole reason we're here, marketing and advertising, is so that we can communicate with our customers, so that we can engage with our customers. But I wouldn't say that really that's the way that it should be organised. It's more like this. So the customer, clearly, always at the top, that's who we're trying to get to. The channel is really the buffer between the organisation and the customer. So that's the means through which we get to the customer. But the channel is not always the all-important. What is important is making sure you choose the right channels, but the channels don't make great marketing. And I think a lot of marketers make the mistake of saying, well, I have to, for example, use social media because everyone's using social media, so I need to use social media. And that's not the case. We need to make sure the channels reflect what the customer wants. HSBC recently did a great case study, and we've got a video of that on the ADMA website if you want to have a look at it. But they were basically saying, they don't introduce new channels when these new channels become available immediately, because often the conversation within a marketing department is, let's add a channel, because if we add social media, it might mean that less people call our call centre, so we'll make a cost saving in one by introducing a new channel. And their analysis has shown that's actually not the case at all. All you do is start adding more and more channels. It doesn't cut down the cost in other areas. It just means you've got more to manage kind of moving forward. So channels are important. Technology drives the communication. So technology allows us to respond real time. It allows us to kind of have that communication. It allows us to organise our data. But at the end of the day, it's like anything. You can have a database with no data in it, and that database will not work for you. So really the engine behind all of this is data. That's why I kind of put it there as the anchor, the foundation, because data is what will drive all of this. As I mentioned to you, though, all of these elements, and particularly if you look at the IBM case study or piece of research that they did, each of these areas were the 4 key areas that are causing concerns for marketers around the world. So, with regard to the customer, CMOs are concerned that at the moment, customers are saying, we want personalisation, we want you to respond to us, we want you to understand us. But from a marketer's perspective or an organisation's perspective, that becomes extremely complex, trying to make sure that we're relevant and personal to every one of our customers. And CMOs have identified and red flagged and said, well, we're concerned that if this continues down this path, it's going to spiral out of control, and we're not going to be able to deliver on this increasing demand that's being put on us. With regard to channels, the concern that's been raised here is that most organisations still keep their channel data, and this is worldwide, this is every country in the world, still keeps their data in siloed locations. So, for example, they'll have their information relating to their email campaign completely separate from anything that's tracking on their website, for example. Now, what happens here is they can't correctly attribute what's going on. So have a campaign that's got multiple elements, be sending out an email, have a wonderful website there, perhaps do a mail campaign, and all in all, what they're trying to do is drive sales. Now, if you're keeping your data in siloed locations, it looks as though your website, for example, is overperforming because all the sales are done on your website. But what you haven't taken into account is actually what has driven people to actually get to that website in the first place. So if you're keeping your data separately, you can't understand what's going on with your channels, and you're wrongly investing in channels that you think are working for you when actually it's something else. The third area is technology, and 68% of CMOs said keeping ahead of technology is one of their major concerns. but also that they've got a shortfall in talent. We've got a big hole at the moment in terms of analytics capabilities. So the industry generally is crying out for people who have got those analytic capabilities who can really take that data and make something of it. So that's going to be something that's going to need to be looked at in the next 5 years. And then lastly is data. So 4 out of 5 organisations said they're attempting data integration so they can understand their data, have it in a CRM system and really kind of make use of it. But only 15% have currently achieved that. So there's some critical challenges. The other thing I just want to quickly mention on the previous slide, I feel like we're kind of going through a cycle here, and we're almost there's 3 revolutions happening at the same time. So channel, technology, and data are the 3 areas that are critical to the transformation of marketing. Channels, we've kind of seen the revolution. We've gone from kind of offline channels to digital channels very quickly. And look, they are going to continue to evolve over time, but we now have access to these vast array of channels to make sure that we can communicate with our consumers. So that's kind of happened, and we've moved through it. The second is technology. In terms of technology, from Apple, they have said that we're about 15% of the way through the technology revolution, which I think is both scary and exciting at the same time. If you think how much technology we do have now, we're only 15% of the way through. We've got some amazing things that are still to come. But I think that the next thing is we're moving into this kind of data revolution. It hasn't quite happened yet. We're just on the cusp of it. There's just been the realisation that we now have access to more data than ever before that we can make use of, both as businesses and as marketers, to really become very targeted and very specialised in what we do. But we're not quite there yet. We're just moving into this area. And why are we moving into this area? Well, if you look at the amount of data that is now produced, that we have access to as companies, it's phenomenal. So just taking a couple of the statistics from this infographic here. YouTube, every minute of the day, 48 hours of video is uploaded. Email, 240 million messages sent every minute of the day. Google, 200 million search queries every minute of the day. And all of this is creating data, and all of this is trackable down to almost an individual level. So if you think of the amount of data that we're now producing and have access to, it's quite amazing. So the next step for this for us is really to make use of that data, and that's, I think, the part where we're just on the cusp of moving into now. We can track what's going on with our own websites, but we would like to, as marketers, get to a stage where we can bring together all of the information from our ad servers, our search marketing efforts, from our mobile apps, from our Facebook pages, all of those things, and bring that data into one place that makes sense. But not only bring that vast amount of data together, get the insights from that data, so sort through all of that and get the insights from that data, but then be able to respond to that data as well. So if we know someone is on Facebook and we can see what they're doing on there, that we can be responding in real time. And that's the next step with direct data-driven marketing, that we'll be able to do that. So if you're going to look up something after today and do a little bit of research, the next big thing is obviously big data. Big data is just unstructured data. It's all the data that's out there that's produced online through social media, through ad networks, etc. That's what big data is. It's going to be pulled together through new technology, which is called database management platforms, which will sit alongside your CRM system and make sense of all of that data so that you can respond in real time. So big data is the issue, okay? And then it'll be database management platforms or similar that will be the answer. So why are we doing all of this? And really it all comes back down to the customer. All of these things that we're trying to do, get smarter with our marketing, really resonate with the customer, make sure that they respond to us. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole reason that we're all here today is to make sure that we can find a way to talk better to our customers. So organisations need to respond to customers to survive. It is the future. There are so many marketing messages out there today, and as it's up here, This is a statistic taken in the US, so perhaps it's a little inflated for this market in particular and also for the Australian market. But consumers are hit with 5,000 marketing messages a day. So how are you going to get your message through? How are you going to be the one that the consumer listens to and responds to and engages with? And really that's why this idea of moving towards personalised direct marketing, which is responding specifically to the consumer, that's why it's essential moving forward. So the idea of mass advertising is not going to be sustainable. So for the consumer, I mean, the consumer has changed. The consumer is saying, get my attention. Cut through all of this. How are you going to cut through and be relevant to me specifically? I don't want to receive the same marketing messages as the person next door to me. You need to be relevant to me. The next thing they're saying is engage me. So consumers will no longer automatically stay loyal to a brand. Why not? Because we've now got access to information. I know when I go shopping now, I've got my phone with me and I'm in a store and I'm looking to see whether I'm getting the right price for this product or whether I can go somewhere else and get it cheaper. And there are applications now that I can look at in real time and say, okay, this is the product I'm looking at. Where else can I get it in the near vicinity? It will pin mark the cheapest point and off I go to the next store to get that product. That's why consumers don't stay loyal anymore. So we need to be doing something more to make sure that they are staying engaged with us. Thirdly, meet my expectations. It's not acceptable that data is kept in silos and that we talk to our consumers about different products and services without the rest of the business knowing. One of the big gripes in Australia, and I think my colleagues here will attest to this, is that we join a bank, for example, we have a mortgage with the bank, we've got other products with the bank, and then we'll find that perhaps the part that just looks after banking starts to send me messages to say, would you like a mortgage, when I've already got one. And that sort of thing is unacceptable now. We need to be much smarter about how we're marketing, bring our data together so that we can meet the customer's expectations. And then lastly, make me your advocate. We all know that the consumer has changed. The consumer is now in control of our brands through social media. If we don't do the right thing with our brand, then quite quickly we will be caught out and it will be made very public through social media. So what we need to be looking at is how we can make our customers our brand advocates. So rather than being out there and talking in a negative way about our product or service, they are the ones out there championing, I can't say it. For every like on social media, that is said to resonate with 8 more people, and then from there, each of those 8 more people. So if you look at how this can spiral out very quickly, if you've got a positive message there, that's wonderful. If you've got a negative message, that's not quite so good. So this is a quick video just to finish off with in around how the customer has changed and how they're now looking at mass advertising.
Hey there. Long time no see. Looking good.
Yeah. Let's just keep this simple. I want a divorce.
What now?
I think you heard me just fine.
Come on. This is me. What's wrong?
We don't talk anymore.
I just put down a mill on a TV commercial just to talk to you.
Exactly. You do all the talking. I never get a chance.
Talk on our website, can't you?
Sure. If I want to say, order this product.
See?
It's not exactly a dialogue.
What about the print campaign, You can't tell me you missed the billboard in Times Square. That was like a 200-foot tall declaration of love.
You're saying you love me, but you're not behaving like you love me. It's not genuine.
I don't know. The agency said I was genuinely being funny. Genuinely being charming. They said you would love everything I did.
Did you keep your voice down? You're not doing a radio commercial. Look, whether you're funny or not, it's just, I've changed, and you haven't. I mean, we don't even hang out in the same places anymore. You're not even listening, are you?
Coupons. You want coupons, don't you? Look, come by the store. I got 2 words for you. Loyalty, reduction. Am I right? That was it, wasn't it? Let's just hug.
If you knew me, you'd know I don't care about that.
Know you? Sweetheart, I know everything about you. You're 28 to 34. Your online interests include music, movies, and laser hair removal. You have a modest but dependable disposable income. Am I the only one not getting the problem here?
I'm out of here.
Oh, come on. Don't be like that. Look, I'll tell you what. Come back here tomorrow. I'll give you the chance to win a Bahamas vacation. There's a small chance, minuscule, but technically still a chance. Might be like the old days.
I think we all get the point. We want to be in positions where our consumers are engaging with us rather than divorcing us. And this really is where we get to personalization and relevancy with our marketing. So that's the future and that's the way forward. One last thing I do want to mention is the marketer's responsibility. And I always say this whenever I talk about direct marketing, particularly when we're talking about data-driven marketing. The opportunity for data-driven marketing is enormous. The amount of data that we will have access to as businesses and as marketers is growing every single day. And that gives us a huge responsibility in what we do with that data and to make sure we use it responsibly. And the reason for that is if we don't use it responsibly, we will find that we will quite quickly have legislation in place which will stop us from using that information. So for the first time, we've seen in the USA that they are looking at introducing new rules around how businesses and organizations can use online data moving forward. And that's unprecedented. The US obviously is very pro-business, business-friendly. And for them to bring in a new piece of legislation that's talking about restricting use of data is quite a monumental move, and it is a real sign of the times. Europe as well has got new legislation coming through at the moment talking about further restrictions on how they can use personal information, and that's personal information generally. And they are looking at things like the right to be forgotten. So the right for an individual to be able to go back to a company and say, delete every single piece of information that you have about me, whether it be online, held electronically or held in paper records, you have to delete it. And that again is a sign of the times. If we don't do the right thing with data, then we haven't got the right to hold it. Australia as well, we've got new legislation coming in later this year where we're looking at having a restriction around direct marketing specifically, where the government has kind of looked at this and said, well, we know that companies are using data for marketing purposes and we want to know that they're using it properly. And if they can't be trusted to use it properly, we're going to prohibit it. So it is a really important point, and that's why associations are so important, and the work that Vatsal and Shelley are doing is to really kind of bring the marketing community together. This whole discussion is now being driven by Facebook, Google, etc., and that's not really what data protection was meant to be about, but that's what it has become. So there's a responsibility on us all sitting in this room today that as we move into this data world where we can communicate with our customers, and our customers want us to communicate with them in a personalised way, that we have to do it responsibly to make sure that we can continue to do that in future. So my final thoughts. The customer has changed, and as organisations, we must respond. And I don't believe this is optional anymore. We can continue to go about our marketing in the way that we do, but there's going to be someone else out there who takes the initiative to really bring personalised, data-driven marketing to the fore. And it's better to be on board than left behind. Secondly, data-driven marketing is the future of all marketing and advertising. So obviously there are countries out there that are very advanced in this at the moment, but really that's the way it's going. Every form of marketing and advertising within 5 years will be data-driven. Thirdly, we as a marketing community need to come together and really make sure that we promote effective, responsible marketing. We can learn from what's going on around the world, and we're doing a lot of work now to make sure that we can bring those learnings here. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's an awful lot of work that's already been done to make sure that we've got those standards in place, but we as marketers need to adopt them. And then lastly, my call to you would be to get involved. We are a marketing community. We should be working together to promote and advance direct marketing into the future. Thank you very much.